socially inappropriately distant.
I like it.
Have a whole table to work from. Hi, Melissa.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Melissa, is there a Wi-Fi password? Or is there, because I'm not able to log into the internet at all using this. It's not an option. It just tells me there's no internet, but I can try again. Maybe that was just in there.
If you use KSD, then it's just your regular login, like your Daniel's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So I
do
got
that
on, it just, my Surface won't connect. And it could be because, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't used it in about a year, but that could be the reason.
Yeah.
Change your password.
No, my password worked. My password actually worked. I was shocked. Okay, I'll try again. See what happens.
You just need it for the Word doc stuff.
I think so, yeah. Okay, hold on, maybe I can log in, let me see. So I'm logged in, it just won't let me access the internet, so let me open it up and see what comes up. Yeah, it tells me Kent School District, no internet. And then it gives me Kent SD secured.
Or King.
It's not gonna.
It is 6:37, and we're calling the special meeting to order for the open public meeting. Unfortunately, I don't even have an agenda in front of me because I forgot to bring my computer. Thank you. Oh, we need to call. Okay. That's right, Michelle. For the record, I'm calling Director Bettinger on the phone, so hang on.
Hello.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
Can you hear that okay?
I can hear perfectly.
Okay. I'm going to leave it right by the speaker here.
Okay, I can only hear you right now.
You what?
I can only hear you. I can't hear if anyone else is there.
Okay, we'll do a check-in. Michelle, this
Yes,
is Calvin.
please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
This is Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Maya.
Hi, Maya.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Leah.
Okay, we're ready to go. All right, we're first going to do, Denise, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of
Absolutely
Allegiance,
will.
please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is my first time remembering doing that for a special meeting.
Thank you, Vice President Daniels. Dr. Watts, are there any changes to the agenda?
No. President Mata, there are no changes to the agenda this evening.
Board, are there any changes to the agenda?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on. We're on to 2.0, Board of Directors discussion and approval. Okay. Have you all had a chance to read the statement regarding the King County Health Facility in Kent?
Yes.
I would like to entertain a motion that we adopt this statement regarding King County Health Facility in Kent. I'll need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve 2.01 board statement regarding King County Health Facility in Kent.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the statement regarding the King County facility in Kent. Discussion. Questions?
Did not have any.
I do not have any either, thank you.
Michelle?
Nope.
All right. All those in favor of the board statement regarding King County Health Facilities in Kent signify by raising your right hand and saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by raising your right hand and saying nay. The motion carries. All right. We're on to 2.02, disaster preparedness, discussion only.
Yeah, I brought this up because I just, the board hasn't been involved, and I understand, with the policy, but I don't know what the pandemic epidemic plan is in the district for 3432. So policy 3432 requires us to have a pandemic epidemic plan in the district, and I can't find that. And I'm also, with all that's going on, I've said this before, it's a very fluid situation, but we are all elected to represent our constituents and have a voice at the table. So I just wanted to understand what our plan was prior to this pandemic, and I'm more specifically concerned about getting food to children. I drove to 3 of the sites, and it just didn't seem like they were, like one of them, the Carriage Crest site, isn't really accessible to a lot of children who might be walking, and that concerns me. So the 2 things I want to know is where's the plan that we had in place prior to all of this, and what adjustments can be made to make sure we're feeding more kids.
Thank you, Director Bettinger. I'll be happy to read, first of all, a general statement that outlines where, and if you were here, you'd see a fairly robust binder of information that every school has, and by law, we are required to have an emergency response, as you refer to it, as a disaster preparedness. So it is the purpose of Kent School District to empower its employees through its emergency response plan to be able to respond and effectively deal with emergency situations. It is also the intent of the district to ensure the safety of all students, staff, and community through the implementation of its emergency response plan. With increased regularity, school districts are encountering emergency situations where quick and effective action is necessary for the protection of students, staff, and community. Planning and preparation are key elements in producing positive results in such situations. The goal of the Kent School District Emergency Response Manual is to help prepare all Kent School District employees to effectively respond to a variety of emergency situations that could occur. The Emergency Response Manual is by no means all-inclusive. It is meant to provide sound and concise guidelines for a prudent response to emergency situations. Each school shall have its own emergency preparedness plan, which they do, specifically designed for that school. It is important that this plan is not only practical but flexible as well. Administrative staffs at each building site are encouraged to schedule planning sessions so that these plans can be reviewed as a team. Preparing and designating roles in advance of a crisis is extremely important for everyone to obtain effective and positive results. Per RCW 28A.320.125, otherwise known as Safe School Plans, states the use of school mapping information system, which we do currently have and have had since its inception, called Rapid Responder, and that is a digital device, a platform that allows all schools, as well as central admin and our safety services team, to help monitor how well and to what extent schools are safe environments for students, staff, and families. At least one of the safety-related drills that take place, I can tell you now that Kent School District is widely known for its preparedness, its commitment to safety, and to training, not just training our safety services officers, but training and preparing our staff for a variety of emergencies. This tool, Rapid Responder, is the Washington State recognized location for all school emergency plans, so they are housed on this platform, and they can house our current and what we call our currently revised pandemic epidemic plan, giving access to all schools, law enforcement, and first responders in the state of Washington, and it is funded by the state. Questions?
I think part of the challenge is understanding that, so districts have to respond to the direction of the state. And that has been, as you know, a daily, sometimes hourly response. So it's difficult to have actually a pandemic plan when you don't know, one, what the pandemic might be and what the response is going to be. So there's not, at least I know we don't have one in Auburn like that either. So there's probably some statements, but there's nothing that says, this is what you do here, this is what you do here, because it's by the directive of the state. So your districts have to respond and respond, like I said, on the fly, because I'm sure I know probably about 30 different directions that have come in the last week. And that's been very difficult to continue to keep up with. So it's hard to have a policy when you're going to have to follow the direction of state leaders that may contradict that policy.
Practically speaking, a lot of the community people on social media and phone calls and emails that I've received kind of wanted to know, and of course they all have their own opinions on how we could do everything.
Absolutely.
And how we should do everything. And of course I probably have my own opinions too, like they do. But I'm just curious how, as long as we're live streaming this tonight, it might answer some of our community's questions. How do we come to where we place the sites for food? Because a lot of them said, that they don't feel there's enough sites, or they're not accessible, or it's dangerous for crossing streets. And quite frankly, I have no idea how you got to that, or who does that. And maybe it would make our community feel better if we kind of understood that process a little better.
Sure. I guess before I begin, I've heard that, and I'd love to just entertain the conversation. What suggestions, if we were to say to everyone in the community, what suggestions would you give for where we should place sites for schools so that meals can be served in a safe, secure environment? What do you think we would do?
Yeah, the thing that and honestly, I haven't studied all this, but I do realize, because I've run an emergency assistance program at my church, and we always get a pretty lengthy list in the summer of where meals are served and everything, and I just think that's pretty terrific. And one of the things that I've heard from people on social media is the list we have is pretty small, and why aren't we using the summer list? And honestly, some of these sites, because I've driven around a little bit, some of them have some challenges crossing streets. They're saying if kids are supposed to walk to these, they're not even really logically laid out. They could map it out so much better on where they go. And I honestly don't know that. But help me and help the community understand, how you got to that. And are there some parameters that we can only do so many sites? I don't know.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm asking because I know what my role is to make sure that operationally that we have safe, reliable opportunity and options for our families to be fed. There were 5 priorities that were given to us by the state superintendent and the governor. First among equals is to make sure that, that we provided child care for our essential employees, those who are actually out in the field supporting what we're going through right now, which is an unprecedented pandemic. And so secondly was to make sure that we provided, to the extent that we could, child care for those individuals who may not be able to afford financially, or based on their role, not to be able to afford to be out of work. The other is to provide meals. We have a plan, and the plan is, it mirrors our summer meals plan. And so those who are asking questions, why the schools that we've chosen, so 8 schools and 2 community partners, we chose 10 sites to provide kind of a balanced, equidistant approach so that ideally there would be a minimal travel time to and from, and some obviously are going to have a closer walk time and some are going to have a longer. But that's also based on a couple of factors that we wouldn't necessarily have to consider during a normal summer meal plan. One of those was consistent, and I appreciate the work from all 9 of our employee groups and our labor partners, but we've had some opportunities and some challenges in making sure, to the extent that we could, that we had staff who could support these needs. In some cases, we did not have enough staff. So we're working through that now, and that's one mitigating factor that did not allow us to expand, I think, to what I'm hearing. And first of all, let me be clear. I do understand and I empathize and agree with what I'm hearing from the community. We would love to have feeding meal sites at every one of our schools as close to everyone's current locations, because that's ideal. We just don't have the resources to do that currently, and the more that our current pandemic continues to persist, the less that we're here. I'll just be very frank. We have individuals who not only just in Kent School District, but in neighboring school districts who are fearful of what might happen. So that actually gets to another question I've heard: why do we have safety services officers? That might be considered a negative connotation. And in fact, our safety services officers, I know historically we've had some challenges in the distant past or not so distant past, and we have transformed why and how our safety services officers support our schools and our school communities. If you saw, or those who had a chance to, I think I just missed you when I went to KM, and I heard that you had just left, I think. There's a safety services officer who I know, and we waved, and he was there with a smile on his face, and there for the sole purpose of monitoring, ensuring what we are also supposed to do from the governor's order is to limit, just as we're doing today, to obviously limit crowd spread and maintain social distancing. And that was because we did hear, so we heard stories from other school districts where there were more people wanting food than the food was there, and there were crowds. And so we heard from our community, our staff members, that they had some concerns. Now, fortunately, that didn't materialize. But so those are the real day-to-day stories, not an excuse, certainly. We'd love to support more facilities. In fact, now that we know more, and this is what I would like to share with our community, start out with a plan. It wasn't perfect, but we've always said our team meets at least 3 times per day. The purpose of that meeting is a continuous quality improvement check-in. Take a look at our data. How well did we do? What were we able to accomplish? What can we do differently? We've listened to community members. We've also listened to the needs of our families. So where we are right now, we have a charge from our governor, state superintendent, to provide meals, to provide remote learning, not to, as I've said from the dais, not to replicate the teaching and learning opportunity, but we want a continuous learning environment to the extent that we can. Going forward, we know we need more people, and so people are showing up, and at least they've begun to raise their hand and say, how could I help? And that's what I've had conversations with our Chamber of Commerce, with many of our community partners who said, just let us know how we can help. We had to develop a plan. We couldn't just say, come on and show up. We don't have a plan yet, but our plan will support. The ideal situation is increasing our summer meals plan, maybe not to more locations, but in a different way. So we're taking, just so you know, this experience has caused us to learn from one another. Locally, I have colleagues within this region, colleagues across the country who are all embracing this challenge. And so we've taken ideas and we've merged them. So one example is how might we use our buses? And instead of just settling in one spot, which is our summer meals plan, and having people report, that we now can go to families in a more nimble way. That does two things, providing an opportunity for us to touch more spots and allow more meals to be served. It also helps us to be consistent with our own safety. We've got to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. That's why we're social distancing right now. The bus and transportation allows us to keep a minimal number of people on a bus and actually provide not just one meal per day, but the goal is to provide multiple meals to families on more frequent occasions. So imagine on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, this is our desired plan, to go to multiple locations and provide 2 days worth of meals, 2 breakfast, lunch opportunities provided on Monday so that they have food for Monday, Tuesday. On the Wednesday route, we do the same thing, so they have food for Wednesday, Thursday. And then a Friday route, so they have food for Friday and extra for the weekend. That's part of our plan going forward. We did not have that plan to begin with because we didn't know how many we were going to need to support. That's an example of where we are, how we're planning to feed, why we have safety services officers. And I know we can't control necessarily, and I appreciate the comments that I had. Kent is special, and I say that in a very positive way. It's also unique geographically. There's not too many school districts that are designed with highways and mountainous regions and hills, and we have a lot of terrain that are not, it's not an ideal walking district in some cases. So we're having to navigate all of those factors, and I appreciate the patience from our community, and I also understand the impatience from our community. It doesn't necessarily help us move any faster, but it lets us know where the concerns are.
So do I hear you saying, Dr. Watts, that the potential for maybe the bus method or might be coming, or you're just considering it?
We are working on that plan as we speak. It is not finalized.
Right, I hear you.
Yes, but we are.
So you think it might in the future be finalized and be brought forward, or you're still discussing it?
Well, we're doing more than discussing. We're having conversations with our labor partners.
Okay.
We are having conversations now with community partners to see how many volunteers would be able to show up. We have been, again, charged with making sure that we're providing meals with the exception of our spring break, but I will tell you that we are going to do our very best to not discontinue during spring break, and so we have a plan for that as well. So all of that is now not fully baked, but know that it's in the recipe, and we are considering all of these options. We do believe we can make that happen. That's
very exciting. I'm wondering on the security guards, because, I was on a committee, we did something at CAM, and the cops showed up, they were there to mingle with the community, and made the mistake of parking their Kent police cars right out in front of KM. Sure. And I was told a lot of families, when they saw that, that's a turnoff. So I'm wondering with our security guards, and I understand the crowd control and limiting things, as we're going forth with the model we have right now, could we have our security guards there, but maybe park their vehicle a little more hidden, or is that a potential?
No, I think that's a real simple solution. Those are areas we don't want to provide barriers at all. And if that is something that is causing a barrier, we hear that, we will adjust. I think there are some easy solutions.
And the 3 housing sites, Cascade, Birch Creek, and Valley Key, are they just for the housing people there?
Yes.
Okay, and that's not well known either.
So for students who are there, and that's one area that came up today, and I think I did hear, we provide the service, we provide the meals to our community partners there at our housing development. They determine when we assume they were all going to be on the same time frame, and that was our mistake. We learned from that. They did call, but the reality is they have the right to to do what they will with the resources that we provide them, and they would know best. So they opened literally two hours after our normal school site time, and that's the reason why those who may have assumed they were opening at 10 or 11 did not get access to that. So we've opened up our communication lines, making sure that if there are any changes, please let us know so that we can communicate to our families and our students and staff.
But on the website, you know, and I'm just trying to solve problems, I'm not trying to bring them up here, because I know they've been asking this.
Sure.
It does not say that those complexes that are under King County Housing or HUD, whatever it is, I'm not sure exactly who they fall under. Those sites, I thought, and other people were saying, were the sites for any student that even live beyond those apartment complexes. And I hear you saying that those are just basically geared for the complexes. And I don't think that's on our website, you know, like maybe in parentheses, this is for these, because, you know, they're coming in there. And the reason I was alerted to what was going on at Valley Key is somebody came in there thinking from the neighborhood beyond there. They walked in and said it wasn't there. So first of all, they didn't understand that it wasn't for them. They should have gone to another site. And second of all, of course, which you're straightening out is the hours and how that is mandated. But if you don't know, those are posted, I mean, on the website and everything is just sites. And if I lived another neighborhood around there, I don't know some of them, but I would assume that I could walk in there and get it too. Are you saying that's not planned?
Here's what I think that the best way that I can put this is how might we help? So I know we can always look at a plan and say, here's what didn't work. We didn't set out to have a perfect plan. We set out to make sure we were feeding our families to the extent that we could. We knew we were going to have some adjustments that we made, and there's still going to be adjustments. I think what's most important for me, I think for all of us, because we all have a voice and should carry a voice in this challenge and support, that we know we are charged with feeding our students. We do ask, and again, I'm not saying be patient, because you have to eat. You want to make sure you have food, basic needs first. We have information now that's adjusted on our website. We're planning to increase. No, it's just a microphone. Yeah, nothing in the attic here, that's right.
So a couple things that I just want to bring up, because I think one of the things is understanding we're on day 4. And this is right. So this is something that districts had to come up with last week, basically. And so it is an evolving. I know a lot of people have posted about what we're doing now, but that was just 1 week plan because we don't know the rest of it. And I think also understanding that we had to bargain MOUs with our labor groups. This is a bargaining issue because it's a change of working conditions. So it's not just saying bus drivers go do this. You have to bargain because it's a change in what they're doing. So
I don't think our community knows that.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So I think this is important.
Yeah.
That's why I want to bring this up.
You can't just direct them to do something different than their contract says. So there's bargaining that has to happen, and that takes time because you've got to bring in, people that are bargaining and meet with labor leaders, and I think that it's just something that, and as far as numbers, so the reality is we're not feeding 27,000 kids. That's an unrealistic number to expect to see kids getting food. That's not going to happen. A lot of parents are scared to send their kids outside. They're not coming outside because if they're practicing social distancing, they won't be coming to get the meals. Yeah. So there's all kinds of factors, I think, that play into it that I don't know that people understand. And so it is, it's something that, again, we're on day 4. And so this is huge.
I understand the magnitude.
This is huge. Yeah. And so just understanding that staff has been working. I know I get emails from my superintendent at 10:18 at night. People don't leave the district till 9 o'clock at night. They are working so hard and so long to do this. And there's going to be kinks because it's a plan nobody's ever done before. It's like, how do we do this? Sometimes, some districts might have bus drivers. Other districts might not. Because and again, like Dr. Watt said, there are people who don't want to do it. And they have their own health issues and they have their own concerns. So there's so much that goes into it. So, and it's great that we have so many that want to volunteer and that you know, and that's awesome, but then, you know, you have to come up, when you're done with your plan, you gotta say, okay, now who's gonna go organize all the volunteers? Because there's a lot that goes into it. And I feel terrible because, you know, people are concerned about the numbers and accuracy of numbers. And so what do you mean? Are you saying our nutrition services people are lying about the numbers of meals that they give away? Because the numbers come directly from what's handed out by our people who are handing it out. So it's just this, I think patience and grace would really be appreciated, and I would encourage the response to people to say, you know what, we're all working this out together. And so I know there's a lot of challenges that have been happening and a lot of conversations, but there's so much more, and you know, our staff have families too. So I mean, some people bring their kids here because they have nothing else, they can't, you know, they're not doing something. So we have to understand, not only do our staff have this to do, they've got their own families to take care of and keep safe. So I think if we just kind of consider the larger picture, everyone wants kids to eat. Everyone does. And we're doing whatever we can to make that happen. But I think, again, working together, and maybe our response as a board should be more of, you know what, our staff is working amazingly hard. Let's support our staff, right? Instead of just, you know, well, you know, honestly throwing the district under the bus for whatever we feel is not happening, because we don't know what's happening really. But I think we need as a board to come out and support our district and what they're doing and our district leadership, because they're doing an amazing job.
Well, I went out to 3 of the sites to thank all the workers there that were delivering packages. But Vice President Daniels, you've got to understand, I have been asking to be involved in meetings just to listen and learn since March 5th. And when board directors aren't involved in even one meeting to understand some of these things, it becomes very difficult to represent or understand what decisions were made and how. And I understand the labor partners and things like that. But again, when we don't have a direct line as board directors to understand the decisions that are being made and ask questions and potentially say, hey, by the way, did you know that that school's on a 4-lane road and there's no way to cross safely? That, I think, is where the difficulty lies for me personally. I want to support certainly all our staff that's out there working hard. It was cold on that first day, and I thanked everyone I saw for being out there in the cold, delivering those meals to those families. But when the board can't get together to hear how and why things are being planned, it becomes very difficult to understand what's going on.
So Michelle, I speak from hearing from many districts, no boards have been involved. Because
North Shore, other districts have involved their boards.
Okay, well, none of our surrounding districts, because when you involve the board, what you have to do is you have to go through the whole open public meeting protocol. And there's all types of things that have to happen in order to get more board members in a meeting. And right now, I think if we allow people to respond to the crisis and come through it, and then after that, we can come together and hear exactly what happened, but we've been updated every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And yes, you might not know why a decision was made, and that could be a note to say, hey, can we go back and revisit this once we've put into place a plan to address the crisis? Like, no boards are meeting. Like, all board meetings have been canceled. No boards are meeting. So this is kind of a unique thing. It's just, I understand, but sometimes we just have to be patient and allow the district to do their job and fill us in as we go. But to have us in a meeting, there's so much protocol that has to go with that. We've got to stream it. We've got to have people. I mean, there's so much that we have to do. It's not logically possible for them to include us in that. So I guess my thought is, sometimes we just have to be patient and trust and wait. And so, I mean, it's a difficult, we've never been here before.
I think also, you know, we really need to be mindful of how we present information. I think sometimes the approach seems to be accusatory or very curt, intentional. And I think, first step is always understanding the situation before we make assumptions. And I think the assumptions part is where it's really disturbing to see some of the emails that come through without asking the right questions. If there are questions to be asked, we should be able to ask that. And I think Dr. Watts needs to know what we're hearing. So when I hear from constituents, I usually call him or I email him, let him know, this is what I'm hearing, how are we going to address it? But I don't send an email to staff saying, we are, these numbers are inaccurate, this sort of thing, without having a firm understanding of the big picture. And I think that's where it gets to be really difficult. When staff is working really hard, you cannot demoralize them, with information that's not necessarily factual. And so that's where I feel like we've gone wrong as a board, is that we've been very accusatory and not necessarily helpful in helping our staff understand this is what we're hearing and what is our solution to addressing it.
Leah, do you have anything you want to say? Or? Sure you do.
I noticed that people have been concerned. They concerned about the security officers being at sites. It happens to different companies, but I talked to the kids and families there. They said, if this one particular site was happening on time, like how it was supposed to. At some of the other ones, I know that hasn't been, and because of to be on the phone a lot today, talking about the times in which they decided to change, and families not knowing or putting up flyers in the neighborhood, and not necessarily knowing whether it was the right time or not, and having to go back and make new flyers, and what are we going to do? So, just even on the logistics level, from all different organizations, I think there's a little bit of panic, and oh my gosh, we want to make sure we're giving the best information and the right information, and to make sure that, families and children are getting these.
I think so. I know when we did it, we were very specific about saying this is the plan for 1 week, because everyone knew that there were going to be changes that. So I think it's difficult to give that information when you don't know when it could change. And so I think, again, people we're on day 4, right? This is something that is, but yeah. And interestingly enough, when I went to Covington in particular, and I saw the security guard there, and the kids were really excited to see him and the families, because it's familiar faces that they see in buildings.
That can be true.
So it's just a little different to me. Maybe different people in different places saying different things, but they were really excited to see the security guard because it's a familiar face. And he said, oh my gosh, it's different not having you guys in the buildings and schools. And they just had a really good conversation. So I guess that seems a little unique to me, but I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I don't know if that's the overall picture. I think there's different pictures that come from different places. And so what I don't want us to do is make a decision based on a particular picture from a snapshot from a place without considering the whole
That's
picture.
true. That's
So, and I do understand the need for safety, and I think that's important too. Not that I would, think any of our community members might there might be a need for a security guard officer to act, but I think for some of them it's reassuring because they don't see their teachers, so the safety officer is kind of the familiar face. So they don't even know me. So but it's just, they don't know people in the district besides their principals, teachers, and they don't get to see them. So it is a little bit of a touch base that I heard anyway.
I appreciate this dialogue, and I will tell you, we've had to, certainly we've played the role of strategist and listener and counselor. There are many of our staff members who took it personally. Some of the things that were said, and really had a tough time, knowing that we were all trying to do what's right for our families, and it's not going to be perfect. We are making perfect progress because what we have been able to do today is 32, 96 meals. But we saw an increase, and I'll get that exact number. And that's really the data that we're talking about. Some people were thinking, how many students we're talking about? We're just trying to take care of our we're just trying to take care of our families.
Exactly.
And so these are the number of meals. So that's, it's a data point that we will use. But put it in context, Director, as you mentioned, we're not feeding 27,000. In fact, when in a normal situation, when we have when school's in session, typically we are feeding on average about 10,000 of our students every day. And that's in a normal situation in a cafeteria, multipurpose room.
That's good to know, that number, yeah.
Absolutely. And so with 10,000 in a normal day, and we're feeding not necessarily by head count, but serving on day one, 28, almost 2,900 families, and today I think we were over 3,000 meals served. That's important, and that's important not because of the number. It's important because of the people and the children who we're feeding. We've said 0 to 18 or KSD student. No, and we know that if someone's in line waiting for food, they're hungry, and we're trying to basic needs first, and then we'll talk about the learning experience second. This is an important time. It's incredibly, as I say, unprecedented. We're working hard and smart. We're continuing to improve our communication in ways that I think will be more effective. But right now, the goal is to make sure that our board is informed to the extent that we can, as soon as we can, and then to adjust our plan as we need to. We're doing that.
Well, I just want to say that I was out at some of the sites, and every site I've been to, I've praised our staff, and I thought they did a great job. And on any social media, I have not heard negative. I am just taking the job I have and passing on like I have to you, anything I see, anything that I, so people can have information, because I may be naive, but I think with more, probably am, with more information, it calms things down, or maybe not, and that's why, I just wanted some clarification on that. One other question before we move on here is, a community member said that their family got basically vegetarian lunches and stuff. Is that our standard? Are there different types of meals? They perhaps got the wrong one or something. I don't know.
There are meals that are served based on our schedule, and so I know that some meals, it's breakfast and lunch, so not necessarily serving what you might find at International House of Pancakes or something like that. We're serving a healthy meal. For breakfast, it might be cereal and milk.
But I mean, are there different A, B, or C choices that they weren't aware of, or does one vegetarian
options.
And one is not, or?
So we do have options. We can, when we say, first of all, I think the drive-through approach, our workers will ask how many you need. I don't know if they're asking, do you need a vegetarian meal, but I know we do have vegetarian options, like hummus and fresh vegetables that are served. So we have options that are
because they were asking if they have options, and I honestly didn't know.
Well, I don't know that they'll have options every day. There may be 2 options available.
Okay. And maybe they didn't have all, maybe they're out of one option and they were down to one option. A lot of variables. Okay. All right. Any other further discussion that anybody else wants to bring up under that?
Just make a quick comment
No.
that in talking with all of the other districts in WASDA, these are not unique to us. It is, every district is going through this. And I'll say North Shore was brought up. There were directors who said basically the plans that they had to put it to rest because it just was not effective. I mean, everybody is doing analysis right now, so I appreciate Director Daniels bringing that up and the grace that we need to give to our district at this time.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. So we're on to 2.3, succession planning. So
Yeah, and then I brought that up because, we all know that Ms. Martin resigned, and so I just want to, I don't need to see the specific plan, and that it's, that's not under the purview of the board necessarily. I just want to make sure that we do have a succession plan because, it's depending, I mean, the situation is fluid, but depending, it is a big year this year for us and many moving parts and pieces with our labor groups, and I just want to make certain that we have a succession plan.
So, Director Bettinger, are you asking, I just want to be clear, are you asking if we are going to hire for Chief HR Officer? Is that what I hear you saying?
Actually, no. I'm asking, most businesses have succession plans, and most organizations have succession plans. So, if someone leaves suddenly, which this isn't sudden, we were given the grace of a long period, but most organizations that are well run have a good plan. So if someone should leave suddenly, we would be able to, have an idea of what we would do in the interim until we had someone in place while we recruited, things like that. I just wanted to, I'm new, and I didn't know what our succession plan was in the Kent School District for crucial roles.
I just wanted to be clear. I wasn't quite sure why you were asking that question, and now I think I understand better. That is, as you know, an operational matter that we do have in place. Certainly, we don't have a spare any position, but we do make sure that there are people who, when there is an opportunity that perhaps we want to look from within, we also want to follow our process. And like any other organization, once we get to that point, and right now, to be quite honest, our pandemic response has taken a vast majority of our time from
well, of course.
Please allow me to finish, other normal operational patterns or issues. And so yes, we do have a plan, and we certainly wish Ms. Martin well in her new endeavors, and we will, as any other organization will do, make sure we have a process that we follow for recruitment, hiring, and bringing the personnel to the board when it's time. That plan is certainly underway.
So Michelle, in school districts, typically the only position that happens for a superintendent that I've known.
Okay.
It doesn't happen for other positions.
Okay.
It's just a hiring process. They kind of go, well, I understand, they just kind of go through the regular hiring process.
Yeah, for me, I just think in a well-run organization, there's always an chance that something could happen, and you don't want it to happen. But I just didn't know if the district had a plan, to deal with a situation if someone, if one of the leadership team left suddenly. I had no insight into it. And so it's purely informational, just trying to gather understanding of how the district does things because, and not just with, chief of HR, but there's several crucial positions. And I just didn't know if there was a plan, what the plan, if there was a plan that was in place. So if something happened to any of our chiefs, that there would be, a strategy that could be implemented before we could hire a replacement, I guess.
We have a plan. We do. We have a plan. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion or questions? Okay, we're moving on to 2.4, future board meetings. And I think I want to bring that up, how we thought in the future. I just kind of want to get all these policies done or caught up, and so I was, I realize the magnitude of everything that's going on changes everything. But I'm wondering if we can online or however we can set it up, if we can kind of continue working. I mean, we're probably going to be out of school for the whole year. I wouldn't doubt it. And I'd just like to see that if we accomplish anything, we get our policies as much as possible and as many as we can updated. That's just a thing I'd like to see done.
I think, if I may, I think there are ways that we can. I think this conversation has brought to light perhaps some areas for improvement and some areas for sustainability. If we're focusing on part of the board's primary responsibilities, as we know, we've had an opportunity to do part of that this evening through my evaluation conference discussion. And as we think about policy, I don't know, especially in this current condition, that we can wait for our normal process where Dr. Harmon and team meets with our board and we process policy. So there are school districts who have school boards who create subcommittees, and those subcommittees could be any one of 2 board members who meet with staff or have an opportunity to meet and discuss with superintendent. They review. It's nothing stopping any one of our board from reviewing policy and making track changes and suggestions and having those discussions. Because that's what to I think coin the phrase of Dr. Bettinger, what good school boards also do. They take the initiative and take action on certain priorities. And board policy cannot be done effectively if we're doing this in episodic ways, especially under these conditions. We'll never get there. So that is one suggestion that I would offer. As an opportunity, we can discuss that. Welcome other thoughts that our board has.
I just have a question, Dr. Watts. How many of your people are working from home? How many of your staff are working from home at this point?
Well, I don't have the exact number, but there's a significant.
So I'm just thinking about, because I know it's similar.
Yes.
A lot of folks are encouraged to work to telecommute.
Yes.
And so I know that makes it a challenge as far as when you talk about a subcommittee. I don't know, like, are you, so when we are doing, I think about your meetings, are you doing your meetings online, or are you having people actually come in? Because I know we're discouraged to have in-person meetings.
Yes.
And so, so I'm wondering what that might look like.
When I say subcommittee, I'm not saying that there needs to be a large group of people. I'm not even saying it needs to be as large as this group. Okay. And right now, we are meeting on Team site using, so our meetings, even if we're on campus, this morning, we actually had a virtual meeting from our offices so that we can continue to practice social distancing. We are also planning to do that virtually. We have the capacity to work from home if we need to. Fortunately, I don't have that far to commute if I need to work here or work at home. But we do have a significant number who are doing that. I just, again, bring that up as an opportunity.
Well, I think that sounds like a good idea. And so do we have to make a motion if we just want to create a subcommittee to tackle the policies of 1 or 2 of us, and that we would work with Dr. Harmon perhaps remotely and stuff? Because that sounds like a great way to get this work done.
So,
I think we'd have to have some further conversation. I brought that up as a suggestion, but I'll leave that up to you for discussion.
Dr. Harmon's duties might.
Well, I guess for me, step 1 is every board member should be looking at these policies and commenting first. But then the discussion phase, how that happens, could be done through an online type of a deal. Microsoft Teams, I know you're using that internally. We could use that. I mean, we all have access to that on our, I would think, on our laptop. I'm not sure.
Well, we wouldn't be able to use it as a,
Well,
unless we
no,
were
as a
calling it
board,
a meeting,
yes,
right?
we can.
Right.
But, I mean, that can be done 2 by 2.
Correct.
Something like that.
That's why I mentioned that number, that
Yeah.
would make it non-compliant with OPMA.
So step one is, if we all have at least our 1,000 series, if we all have our comments in, then can Dr. Harmon at least consolidate that information?
And I want to be very clear, I'm not, given our current circumstances, I don't want to volunteer Dr. Harmon
Right.
for that, for the right now.
So then,
But that's
to
something
me,
I'll-
there's not for me, there's no use then. Because if we have commented, and there's no one to pull that together, then how does that, I don't see how that's gonna help.
So here's, well, and I appreciate that. I think for us, this is our discussion, and all I'm saying is I don't believe we're ready to take action or move forward yet, because there are some conversations outside of the board that would need to take place. And given our current conditions, I don't know how much time we would have for that. But I think the reason why I brought that up is that sometimes, I think, Dr. Vegadoslan, you brought up Stephen Covey's famous quote, "Seek first to understand before you want to be understood." And so perhaps it would take just some time to see what policies do we want. I mean, even asking that question, I don't know if you've had those conversations amongst yourselves. That's something that I will bring up with Dr. Harmon to see what sort of opportunities could exist, because it is important work. We know, and it's critical work to our board.
Well, as I understand, talking with Karen, that she has the 8 policies that we did, and she's ready to do that to be approved. She's for the next meeting we have, or the April meeting. She and I had that conversation, the ones that we did on the retreat. So at least I want to get.
Those are, you're talking about the protocols?
Yeah, the 8 policies.
Yeah, thousands.
And those
yes.
are, she said she can get that together either for the next meeting or the first April meeting, whatever we do. So, but, I mean, how do we have a discussion of what we're going to do? I mean, I've gone through the whole 1,000 series. I already made all those comments.
So did I.
So, I mean, I guess I want my homework tonight, you know. What, I mean,
Go on to the next series.
just go on to
I
the
mean,
next series
that's
and
how-
just keep going
you know,
through them?
I think all of us, I mean, I don't know what WASDA has done for the other series, that's the issue
And I'll check with her.
on that. So we don't want to jump into that.
Right, because they're
you know,
not
before.
updated, right? The next series, because they're not updated.
Yeah, the
because
1,000
WASDA
is updated.
Right, but I'm saying, but WASDA's gone through all of them,
Well,
right?
we don't know which ones they've been updated, so
Right.
that's something Dr. Harmon can let us
That-
know.
Right.
What have they updated, and then we can start on that series.
So, who is going to, should I talk to Dr. Harmon to find that out, or I'll be glad to do that if,
Now, that's.
I'm not going to
conversation
make her do anything, I just,
Dr.
No,
Watson.
what I'm saying is I will have that conversation with her.
okay,
That would be
and you'll get back to us then?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Watts. Okay, any other discussion?
So, I guess the question is, Dr. Watts, that we need to know is how, I'm assuming WASDA is also very limited in their time as well.
Yes.
So I don't know how much they have done or are willing to do. So we kind of need to get that understanding before we
Yes.
just jump in and start reviewing the other series.
Absolutely. No, you're not hearing me say that we need to start that work. And what we know about WASDA, as much as they are committed to this work, they are a lean organization, and they do not have a great deal of staff dedicated to policy work. In fact, I think they have one individual for the entire state. So that's 295 school districts, some as large as Seattle, some as small as 6 students. And that's, and we've gone through that already and had to also make adjustments based on that work. So it's I guess this just in, this work is complex. I know we'd like to move as fast as conditions will allow, but sometimes we just need to take a step back. And I will help with that step back to see where we might be able to make some progress with WASDA.
Okay,
Certainly provide that in those.
okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. So we're now up to, we pretty much covered policy review plan, right?
Yes.
And now we're on to 2.6 board protocol guidelines.
Yeah. When we did our work on February 1st, we kind of stopped at number 10. In my notes, that's where we stopped, is number 10 or 11. So we still have, again, I think it's similar to the policy review plan. We have to find a time when we can, review and agree on those, potential changes for those last 4 items, 10 through 14, and or if there's any more we would want to add, or I know we deleted one, I think. Again, it's just like the policy review plan. I just want to know where we are on that work, and but it sounds like we might be in the same place as we are with our policies.
Yeah, I think everything's kind of paused, but there were a couple things that I wanted to talk about here too, because there's a couple things that happened with regards to some meeting conversations that were happening that were actually in violation of one of the laws, in particular the meeting that was trying to be set up to review a decision that was made, the review per the request of Ken Smith, that I did not get invited to participate in, and so the meeting that I asked you about when I saw that Ken had said the majority of board members would be able to meet to review this decision, and I had not even been contacted about that meeting.
Well, Leslie said that.
And I sent you the email, the meeting you were setting up, and you had called Michelle and you had called Leah. I know you said that you called me, but I have, on neither phone, I have no calls from you.
Well, I did,
Which is, well, typically that was the first time, because usually you email. So I'm not
and
sure
I did
why.
email. I emailed everybody what their opinion was on it. That's why I called.
I never saw an email asking about a
I
meeting.
probably can dig that up, yeah.
Okay, because I did look. But at any rate, I think that meetings, well, it says meetings are supposed to be written, scheduled via written communication, not phone calls, not personal phone calls.
I was just, my question to you, or my question in the emails, what do we want to do about this, that he's now bringing this up again?
No, I got that, but when you were calling people to set up a meeting, you didn't say, I'd like for us to set up a meeting. You asked Karen what we should. I remember seeing that part of it, but you didn't say, I'd like to set up a meeting. What you did was you made individual phone calls.
To see if we even wanted to address it again.
Right, but I didn't get a call.
I didn't even know we were
then
going to address it.
When he said that you had a majority of your board that was willing to meet, and his response to you, that indicated to me that you had told him that you had a majority of your board that was willing to meet.
No, I haven't.
That's what he said in his email.
Well,
That's what he said.
So that's my concern, is that that's not the way that we set up meetings.
Well, I think, Leslie, you had said that there are 3 board members, and then he said it's a majority. I mean, obviously
he
it's a
assumed
majority.
all that.
Yeah, but when you said there are 3
Right.
board members.
That's telling him
that.
yeah.
Pretty much said.
Right.
There's a.
And I just want to make sure that we're not doing anything in violation by making personal phone calls to select people for particular meetings.
That is not my goal was not to do that. I did send out an email. I can send it to you originally. I didn't get much of a response, so then I called people. Because he was going to bring a lawsuit, and I'm trying to stop it,
I'm not going to comment on that part. And also, we just really have to be careful. We violated our OPMA a couple of times already with responses to all.
And that's,
And so
I make mistakes.
I don't understand that.
And I'll admit, I made a mistake, and I will take full responsibility. I have actually been thinking about this, and what I would suggest is that email thread just be posted publicly, because then that seems to me to be a good way to let the public see. And again, I take full responsibility for making a mistake. And I definitely am learning and growing. And so I take full responsibility.
Yeah, and it's not, so they are public, all our emails are public. But I think that it's just, definitely understand it's just happened a few times now, and so just kind of, and I know, honestly, when it, I would say our previous board was held to a very strict standard of violations of OPMA, so I'm just a little surprised that it's happening.
Same people.
Yeah, so it's just quite interesting to me, but, because we probably would have had some type of complaint filed by now. But
and
anyway.
You're welcome to file a complaint.
I wouldn't do that.
I made a mistake. You are welcome to file a complaint.
We don't do that. So it's okay. We understand you make mistakes. And I would just say the grace that we want to provide the grace that was not provided to us previously. So that's what I'm saying.
Somebody needed to say that.
Yeah, because
I didn't lock anyone out of the meeting.
It's okay. I'm just saying we want to provide the grace that was not provided to us. But I'm glad you understand now that people do make mistakes.
I didn't lock anyone out of a meeting, and I offered a solution, and I offered an apology. Exactly. And you are fully welcome to censure me or whatever you would like to do. I am fully taking responsibility.
There's nothing I would like to do. I'm fine. But I think we need to discuss it in public because I know we want everything to be in public.
And we are discussing it in public right now.
I have no desire to, again, I'm offering you grace. I think that people make mistakes, and I understand. Where it's just something that we are discussing.
And I'm taking full responsibility.
Okay. Yep.
I just feel like these last few months, there's been a lot of furtive conversations, and I think, we need to start being very open about what it is that we're thinking and asking them as questions, not so much as assumptions. I mean, I think that's the crux of it. That's creating so much tension amongst the board, and it's very difficult because I think people have come in with an agenda, and whatever it is, just lay it out. If I personally, I don't want to discuss the case. I was going to go there, but I'm not going to discuss it. Okay.
Well, just not to belabor this, but my goal is just to try to solve solutions, really. And unfortunately, he kept writing, and he had a right to do that, and he mentioned he had a deadline. I had honestly put the email out, didn't get a whole lot of response, and then I started calling, and I got to 3 votes, so I figured that at least I could think about we would entertain to have a meeting. I wasn't scheduling a meeting.
So when you say, President Hamada, when you say that you are going to do an investigation, which is the email you sent to all of us.
Yeah.
And then when you have not done that research into what has happened in the district, Karen clearly asked, did you go through all the files? Did you do the research? And you said no. So at that point, why would you even ask for a meeting of the board when you have not, as an individual, done the research in the background and all the things that all of us had to do before addressing that? And so I think that's the concern that I personally have, is that board members need to understand what transpired during that time, and talk to staff, talk to Dr. West, talk to Israel, talk to our security guards, talk to the other individual who also came to the district to attend the meeting. So if all of that has not happened, why rush into a meeting to have a majority of the board to discuss what, without the people who had
Well,
some
first of all,
understanding of the situation.
Perhaps I'm not using the right word, but Dr. Watts and I have talked about this. I did give him a suggestion. He chose not to take it. And to me, and I went to the fiscal task force to hear why they didn't want Dr. Smith in there, and to hear from them. I talked to them, and I talked to them individually on the phone. To me, the whole issue was, Maya, and I don't want to really try this case here. I thought we were going to talk about it in a meeting. Was my thought process is the problem that I have with it is if something is listed as an open public meeting, and I've talked to Curtis about this, and then it's changed after the fact, after people were not allowed into that public meeting, and like he said, it's a gray area. And I'm just trying to find a solution to keep us from litigation and to get to a point, and perhaps I'm naive, that Dr. Smith, I just think he has a point on that particular issue.
Well,
And I mean, I've done enough
Yeah,
investigation
and
to.
Curtis has said he
supported the
supports
Yeah.
the board's
So
decision.
he
on
supported the decision. So I guess my question
He also
is-
told me that he would not have liked it that way. He would like it much more cleaner. If you have that
So
conversation.
moving forward,
Yeah.
that's the way that it would be, I guess. But my thought is, it's hard when, I think the problem is people don't agree with the decisions. And some people really want to be right.
Yeah.
And some people really, and so unfortunately, that's not always going to be the case.
But
And
I-
sometimes we have to tell people, you know what, no, this is what was decided, and this is
I
what-
understand, but I think he has a point, Denise.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, again, like, I don't know if you know the history of everything that went into that.
Some of it, yeah.
Okay, so, and.
I mean,
and
I
again-
didn't do a thorough investigation and read every email or everything,
Sure.
but, I mean, the point to me, and what I have talked to him about it, and, I mean, the point is that the date that the people were shut out from the meeting, and I know there's another community member that, among the 3 that were shut out, and doesn't seem to be a concern to that community member, so I have done a little, I didn't call it an investigation, but the thing is, if you post it as an open public meeting, you stop people from going in, and then you do it from the dais and change that, to me, there's a point.
But the intent was discussed
Right.
in lengthy format
Right.
at the dais. And so
But it
this
was
is one of
after the
those.
fact.
And it
I
was
have
even
to be right
acknowledged, but it
issues.
was even acknowledged that, you know
Yes.
what, yes, we probably should have done it differently. So it was even acknowledged, but I guess, what is your end
So,
goal?
yeah.
What's the end goal?
What is the end goal of?
Well,
this?
if he is, I don't have an end goal. I'm listening to community member, or
So what is his end goal? What has he told you he would like to see out of this?
I think he'd like to see that he is correct in what he
And so,
believes, yeah.
so your goal is to get us to a point where we tell him he's right, and then he'll be satisfied?
We said that at the dais that this could have been better. I'm not quite sure what the words were, so
So-
don't quote me. But we corrected it at the dais. We made it very clear there's a student in the room. They don't want to be videotaped. They didn't sign up for that. That wasn't their understanding.
Oh, I understand.
So, all of that is there.
Perfectly understand all that.
Right,
Yeah.
So what is
so
it?
this is a nitpicky issue.
Right. It
that,
seems to be.
That somebody wants to be correct in what they
It's
would
not
do.
whether it's within the law.
So what is the end goal? That's what I'm saying, what is the outcome that he would like, that
Well,
you're trying to get us to go to?
he listed that, that the things he wants to go over. And, I mean, he wants us to look at 4312, I believe was one of them. I don't have them all in front of me. Doesn't mean we have to do all that. I'm just saying, which I suggested to Dr. Watts, if you just say, we made a mistake.
We did.
But he wants a letter from Dr. Watts.
Okay. I'm not gonna say any more about that.
We did. We did provide a
I mean, is
statement.
that not correct? I mean, what I said to you?
You provided a.
Provided a statement, and I think
Right, but it doesn't say anything about we made a mistake.
I apologize,
And that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
okay.
we've spent quite a bit of time, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not willing to spend another
No,
minute.
any more time on that.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay, we stand adjourned at 7:49.
I was about to fold it up and put it in my